Got a question here asking this person lives in California. They don't like where they live. They have about 6 or 7 months left on the lease. Is there any way that they can breach the lease? Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm a landlord warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe to our videos. Now, we do run across this situation, particularly from like tenants. They go to, represent landlords. So from the landlord's perspective, they're coming to me and they go, hey, my tenant wants out of the lease, X, Y, Z. They got like 6 or 7 months left on the lease, just like this scenario here. What can I do? Well, for both parties, both landlords and tenants, a lease is a legal binding document. It's an agreement to provide housing or a tenancy for a specific term, okay? And generally, unless the parties mutually agree otherwise to terminate the lease early, you're going to be bound to the terms of the lease. Okay? You're going to have to live there for at least that 1 year term or be subject to, breaching the lease early. Okay? And in, breach of lease type cases where, you stop paying rent and so forth, you may be liable to the landlord for that unpaid rent. Okay, you may be liable for your landlord's cost to relet the property. A lot of times, landlords use property managers. They might have to pay a commission to advertise that property for sale and so forth. And you might be on the hook for those costs, depending on the circumstances and how quickly a landlord can re-rent the property. Okay, in this type of situation, that's subject to negotiate. It might be best to be negotiate, an early termination of the lease, and the parties can agree as to mutually terminating the tenancy, both on landlords and tenants' end. Because I've dealt with situations where, okay, someone wants to leave, but then they stop paying rent, then it becomes a cause eviction, and then you got to spend time in court and, at least 6 to 13 weeks, depending on cases contested or not. So, just because you don't like it doesn't mean you legally get an option to terminate the lease. There are a few exceptions. One that I can think off the top of my head is for a tenant that is a victim of domestic violence, or they have a household member that is a victim of domestic violence, possibly could terminate the tenancy early on 14 days notice pursuant to Civil Code Section 1946.7. But those are very limited circumstances here. So, your mileage is going to vary, and you got to think ahead. That the best thing is to think ahead of time, because your plans might change and so forth. You may not want to sign a year lease. You may want to sign a 6-month lease or 3-month lease, or go month to month, that type of deal. Consider those options, because sometimes life plans change, but you have legal obligations to meet. So those are my thoughts. Landlords, if you're facing a tough tenant situation, you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.